my eyesight was better so I could see the screen better, but from back here. So just sit comfortably to start with, whatever that is for you. Letting the spine be long and letting the legs be relaxed wherever they are. And we'll just start with a little bit of breath to come into our body and just sort of land here. So it's slowing down the breath a little bit and lengthening it. You can let your eyes be soft or closed, whatever's comfortable, but letting our attention come to our breath, allowing ourselves to be present in this moment here. Letting the belly relax, shoulders, jaw, tongue. Letting go of our brow. And maybe letting some sound out if it likes to come out on the exhale as well. Anything wants to come out to help us release. Oh. And we'll just bring one hand as we breathe, bring one hand to the low belly, gently tap the place right below our navel. Just gently as we breathe into that lower part of our belly. And then we can bring our hands up to our heart, maybe just tap around the heart thymus area gently. Stimulate that. Stimulate our immune system. Heart. And then we'll bring our hands up to our head and just do a little bit massage of our scalp. So waking up our head, getting into all those meridians that run through our scalp. A little stimulation, wake up here. And then bringing our hands to our ears, we might just massage our ears a little bit, bringing our vagus nerve online and waking up our body this way. We can bring our fingers inside of our ears, gently pull down, just hold and breathe. Feeling that automatic relaxation that happens. Good. And then bringing our arms out from our shoulders, just doing a little movement of our spine. We can reach forward and bring our arms back and lift our heart, flapping wings, it's called. Just moving our spine as we breathe. A little stretch of the back, a little opening of the chest. And then let the arms come down beside us. We'll start in butterfly. So you can bring your feet out in front, be like a pillow underneath your legs for support so you can really let go. Bringing the feet out a ways from our hips. And we'll just come forward into butterfly, letting our torso relax over our legs, feeling our hips just let go. So we start to open the hips. Butterfly is such a nice stretch for the sacrum because it stretches it in all directions. You can massage the feet as well while you're here. Whatever feels good to your feet to give them a little attention, love, and we have all the points on the bottom of our feet that correlate to our body, all the organs of our body, that system known as reflexology. We can also tap into all of our body by massaging our feet. It's comfortable to let the spine just round forward, maybe let the head drop. We can stretch our spine as well and decompress the vertebra, our spine, and in our neck. Well, as we come into our yin, our hour of yin, we can just let ourselves yield and let go of any tension or anything that might be waiting for us on the other side. And just letting our mind relax into our breath. The breath is the back door to the mind. So when we slow our breathing down, we automatically relax our mind as well as our body. And just allow whatever is present in our body, in our mind, and in our heart to be there without censoring it or judging it, just letting this acceptance of what is, acceptance and a little bit of investigating maybe. So we'll start to come up from butterfly. You can just walk yourself up to sitting and maybe lean back and move the legs a little bit. Whatever feels good to your legs. And then we'll bring ourselves into 90-90. So let's start with the right leg. And if you want to pillow the rest of your arms or your chest on, you can just have it there. So having our legs in a 90-degree angle and letting our hip just sort of relax in that internal rotation. Just feel that. And let's go ahead and do a little twist here. So we can bring our right hand behind us, lengthen our spine, and bring the left hand back. Just gently pull and spiral back and take a couple breaths back here. Then we'll come back around and come forward over our right legs, just coming onto the elbows, maybe to start with. We can slide our left leg back however far it wants to go. You can have a pillow underneath you if you like, or whatever you need for support to come down over that leg. We move our arms to the right. We kind of take the pressure off a little bit. We want to move our arms toward the foot. We can add a little more pressure. And we can always adjust our foot inward towards our torso as well. So putting more bend in the knee if that is preferable. More of a sleeping swan pose, actually. So it's this compression that one of the yin exercises, you could say, is compression. And it's so good for our bones as well as our muscles and fascia. When we get into these long held stretches, we can try to feel into our bones, right? Like all the way in the deepest layers of tissue. The stretching of our deeper layers of fascia and the compression that helps nourish those deeper layers and hydrate them to keep from getting that shrink wrap sort of effect that can happen as we age, especially. Our joints sort of start to, those layers of fascia start to dry out and kind of like a shrinking effect, and we can hydrate and lengthen them, putting stress into the area. So that deep stretch in the hip that we get from these long held hip stretches to really get into the IT band and the lateral hip, and are so nourishing for our sacrum. As we deepen into the breath and into the pose, find ourselves probably letting go a little more and relaxing. You can remember that there's really nowhere to go, nowhere to be other than where we are now. It's always the case. It's that relaxing, that ability to just relax into and accept the moment as it is. In this culture and this time that we're in, where we can be so pulled in so many directions so easily and very easily overstimulated. And it was Viktor Frankl that said, it's between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space is our power and our freedom. It's what I call dwelling in the present moment, which is practice. We must practice it. So let's walk ourselves slowly up and slide that left leg up as we start to come up, and moving slowly as we do out of a yin pose, so that we let our connective tissue come back, bounce back, and we might move the legs, shake them out, whatever feels good to you, to your legs. And we'll cross our right leg over the left into half shoelace, or if this is not comfortable for you or you rather do caterpillar, you can just bring both legs forward and just relax forward over our leg. You might wedge your hands under your knee for support. That's what I like to do. Knee needs a little bit of help here with your leg on top of it. So again, if we're rounding our back, if that's comfortable, if it's comfortable to let the head hang, nice to get a stretch in the spine. It's one of the only ways that we can really stretch our spine is by rounding forward, right? And letting the weight of our body and our head sort of stretch the spine and the back. Of course, it's contraindicated if there is a bone loss issue, diagnosis of low bone density, then it's not recommended to round your spine forward. Fracture the possible fracture in the front of the vertebra of the spine. And then in that case, we would always want to keep our back more flat, not quite as rounded. Okay, so we'll start to come up from there. Just press ourselves up, and the leg is crossed over, and cross it, and the leg's a little shake, movement. We'll bring our left leg forward and the right leg out. Might need a pillow under this leg for a while. here. So feeling that internal rotation, kind of noticing that it's quite as quite internally rotating for that right hip. And then we'll come into a twist by bringing our left hand back and right hand a little bit behind us and lengthen, kind of spiraling back, pulling ourselves into a little twist here, taking a couple breaths. Well, a few breaths. And then we'll come back around to face over our left leg, come forward, up onto our elbows or onto a pillow, gradually coming all the way down to laying flat. Just take our time getting there. Remembering the 3 tattvas of yin, the 3 guidelines of yin, to come to our edge and then be still there and allow time and gravity to do the work. We can slide our right leg back as much as it wants to go back. Might go all the way, might go part way. And of course, if you want to guide your foot in a little closer to you, to come more into a sleeping swan. First, put a little more compression onto that left knee, more pressure. So one of the key principles of yin, of course, is acceptance, right? It's all about coming to a place of acceptance of what is. And there's almost a trance, I've heard it called a trance of unworthiness in our culture, maybe more than just our culture here, but just we've become sort of ingrained in our upbringing or getting messages that we've gotten from adults or programming around us that there's something wrong with us. Right? We're not quite good enough. Right? There's this effort that we're supposed to, it starts with education at a young age, that you don't know anything, have to glean this information and stuff yourself with facts and figures so that you become something. Right? It's a very backward way of being in the Western world. And a lot of times there's this sort of endless self-improvement project that happens where you see it around you a lot, but we're always trying to improve something, trying to get better, trying to get rid of things that we don't like about ourselves, and trying to judge ourselves into becoming a better person. And that's all really an illusion. But it's this coming into the present moment and really being with what is and allowing. There's a magical sort of alchemical process that can happen as we stop, as we pause and observe and allow. And it just has this way of changing whatever is into something else. Alchemy. The key is to relax into the moment and pause and not be pulled by all of the distractions and all of those agendas that want to pull us away from the present moment. Of course, the Eastern cultures, the Eastern philosophies, they have a much more they're much more comfortable with the human being as opposed to the human doing. They're very comfortable in the state of being. Instead of this frenetic doing state. As a teacher of mostly young children, as a nanny, I would always look for signs in young children, especially once they're about, they could be as young as 2 months old, but really right around 6 months old, they start exhibiting their God-given or natural talents and gifts, what they're here for. And it's very fascinating to watch. Just not thinking that they need anything. They're all ready to go. And then they just start doing it. They just start showing you. That's a beautiful thing to really watch that unfolding in kids and fostering it and nurturing it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to come up and slide the right leg up as you do. Slowly come up to sitting. Maybe take your legs out a little bit, wiggle them around, whatever feels good. Okay. And then we'll cross our left leg over the right for half shoelace, or as I mentioned before, both legs forward if that's more comfortable for you. I'm just realizing that I got to plug in my computer. I did. So I'm going to inch myself over there and plug it in. So go ahead and maybe wedge your hands under your knee if you'd like for support. Relaxing into half shoelace or caterpillar. So, right. You have to plug in. Half shoelace and caterpillar are such a nice stretch for that bladder meridian. It runs up the back of our legs and of our hips and all the way up our back of our spine. across the top of our head. Bladder meridian is quite a major meridian. It might be the longest one, the longest channel, and definitely a very important one. Regulating the fluid of our bodies. Okay, so we can start to come up from there, ourselves up and bringing our hands behind the hips. Shake the legs out and then bring our feet in. Maybe lift and lower the hips a few times. Blood moving in our legs and whatever feels good to your legs here. Then we're going to come around to Sphinx pose and Sphinx and seal, but we won't be spending that much time as we normally do. Sphinx and seal. So we might start with our elbows maybe a little bit wider apart or a little farther in front of us. We might rock our hips around or whatever to let that pelvis relax. We definitely want to bend our spine in the other direction. Really beneficial for our sacrum, right? To go from the forward fold, back and forth from the forward fold and the back bend. It's our sacrum limber. Might lift your feet if you want to add a little more stretch or compression. And then if you feel like you'd like to make your way into seal, you can straighten the arms and kind of widen them apart a little bit. Or you can stay in Sphinx. You can also put a pillow or something under the pelvis for support here. Seal. course, just checking in with the breath. So if the breath does become a little bit labored or difficult, and it's just our body telling us to back off a little bit, back into a less intense pose. So if you are up in seal, you might want to start coming back down through Sphinx, into Sphinx to kind of gradually come out. And then we'll bring ourselves up onto our knees. Do half frog. We'll go onto our knees, our hands. Just allow your spine to slowly move by curling the tailbone under, rounding. You might like to press the hips back a little bit, and up and come into a arch, just moving slowly and gently. Right. Then we'll come to neutral and circle the hips a little bit and just kind of let our spine spiral around and let everything go wherever it wants to. Then the other direction. And then we'll sit back into child's pose. So you might like to do it with your knees together, legs together, or legs apart, feet together or feet apart. Whatever feels good to you. Maybe with the arms extended out in front, if that's comfortable for the shoulders. Okay, so we'll come up from there and taking our toes into the mat. We'll do a little downward dog. So lifting the hips, taking a little stretch here. And hopefully you can just let your head relax and get a little bit of blood to our brain. Let it, our neck just go, our head go. And then we'll come back down onto the mat and bring our right foot forward between our hands. If you're not able to do this on the mat, you can come onto your back and do the supine version of dragons. And or you might put padding under your knee. That can really be helpful. So having one hand on either side of our foot, just finding our lunge here. Feel free to rock in and out. You might like to go into a different version of dragons. There's so many options. We can come into high flying dragon with our arms resting on our right thigh as an option, or low flying dragon with both hands inside the foot and sort of deepening into that lunge, or winged dragon where we sort of roll to the outside of our foot and open our right knee out to the side a bit, or twisting dragon. Any of those variations of dragon that you feel like doing or that your body wants to do. As long as we can allow our hip flexors to relax, support that we need. Of course, if you're on your back, you've got your hands or your on your foot or a strap around your foot. Pull your knee down towards your armpit as if you're lunging on the ceiling. And of course, feel free to come in and out of the dragon by straightening the leg at any time. Out and come back in. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a little stretch by leaning back and straightening our right leg. Or if you're on your back, you just straighten your leg or whatever feels good to your leg there. And we'll bring that knee under us and bring our left foot between our hands. Lock this. So we can start with our hands on either side of our foot, or if you're on your back, of course, just switch to your left foot. Finding that lunge. Start with. And then go into any of the variations of dragon that feels right. In and out. Stick to one. That's cool. We want to make sure that our feet and our legs are lined up with our hips and not with each other. Looking in there. Of course, we want to make sure that we're checking in with our breath here. Dragons is pretty active pose. Actually, there's quite a bit of yang mixed in with the yin, and we want to make sure that our body is not resisting and we're staying within our edge, right? Making sure we don't go past our edge too much anyway. Okay, so maybe we'll come out of that with a little stretch, a little runner stretch with our straightening that left leg, or if you're on your back, you can straighten the leg to the ceiling. Whatever feels good to your leg and coming out of that pose. And we'll move ourselves around onto our back. So I'm sure if you need any bolsters, pillows. Oops, I forgot my other pillow. Just have them handy. And we'll start by hugging our knees into our chest and just letting our body relax. Rock around. Your hips and legs relax. You might like to curl into a ball and sort of pull the knees in. And then we'll cross our right leg on top, or stack it on top of our left leg. And it's like a shoelace on your back. And grab hold of the legs wherever you can. Just kind of hug your knees in towards you. And then we're going to guide our legs over to the left. This is twisted roots. We can extend our right arm out from our shoulder. And you might need to adjust your hips a little bit, kind of wriggle them a little to the right. And supporting the legs however they need to be supported, whatever works for you, whether it's pillows, hand, your left foot on the ground, just making sure you can relax the legs as best as possible, keeping our right shoulder on the ground, coming into this twist. Or if you prefer a different version of a twist, you can do something else, do a different twist that's better for you today. Just allowing our breath to be full and even as we breathe in our twist. Sometimes takes a little bit to get the breath going so we can deepen into that twist, massage our internal organs. My cat's inventing some very interesting yin positions today. Cats, I think part of where yin came from is from watching animals, from observing animals. And I think probably cats were one of the top animals on the list. Tigers or cats or lion, something in the cat family. Watching how they move and how they stretch. And then yin poses are invented from that. So we'll start to slowly come out from that side. And from here, you might use your right hand to pull your legs up and kind of bring yourself to center on your back. And from here, we'll extend our legs to the ceiling. So just bringing the legs into the air and letting them hang out here so the blood can come back towards our heart, and maybe move your feet if you like. It's good to you. Might like to straddle the legs. And then we'll bring our legs, if they're in a straddle, just go ahead and lift them back up to the ceiling, and we'll bend our knees and cross our left leg so it's stacked on top of our right. If you want to do twisted roots, of course, you can do a different twist, bringing bolstering over to the right if you're using it. Hug the legs in, kind of bring them in toward your chest. You might curl up or just let your head relax on the ground. And then we'll guide our legs over to the right and let our left arm extend out. You can move your hips if they need to move a little bit. That left arm a little bit up, bent. Left shoulder on the ground. This nice reclining twist that we like to do at the end that bring our nervous system back into balance, as well as our spine, and releasing any tension that might be in the spine, as well as nourishing our organs and our, particularly the digestive organs, but I think all of them get a little bit of a squeeze and a stretch. Of course, if the knees are higher up toward your shoulder, that twist will be a little higher up in the spine. If the knees are a little lower down, the twist will be lower in the spine. Just a matter of preference. Might start to come out of that twist, or if you want to stay there a little longer, feel free to do so. We can maybe hug our knees, move our body around, and come into a comfortable position to just allow some integration. So maybe with the legs bent or the legs straight, back. And breathe here, just feeling your body, noticing how your breath is now. Just feeling the energy circulating through our body. Probably a little more relaxed. And giving thanks to our body for being there for us. Giving thanks to our breath. And giving thanks to the earth, to Gaia, for being there for us. Feel free to stay laying down and relaxing, or to get up slowly. And thank you all for coming.